Hello again. We're back. SwamiLee's Sports Talk. I'm SwamiLee.
I am very angry, Mike, as the listeners will hear soon enough.
Well, this show is going to be the Mike show. The Swami has been a little overbearing recently on some of his videos, and he's going to keep his mouth as shut as possible and let Mike make his case. So, Mike, what you got for us today?
Well,
Anyway,
I
just kidding. I'm sorry. Go on.
I have several things Eagles related that we should talk about.
Okay.
Thing one, the Eagles have a quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who started, 4 games last season. He's a work in progress. He might turn out to be the answer for the next several years, or he might not. It's safe to say that they don't know what they have. So,
Correct.
having said that, what do you think about their new coach's decision to play him for a total of about 10 to 12 snaps in preseason games?
That's probably 10 to 12 snaps too many.
Really?
I think the NFL preseason is about as worthless as you're going to get. All you're doing is risking injury. Look at the kid in Jacksonville, the running back, Travis Etienne, I think his name is pronounced, out for the season most likely. You learn about your fourth string running back. You learn about your third string tackle. You don't learn about your starting quarterback. Whether Hurts is good or not, he's your guy this year. I don't even know off the top of my head. I mean, you're not bringing in Joe Flacco no matter what happens, I hope. Seriously. I hope that that Flacco never sees the field for your sake. Because the guy I can't believe he's the best they could come up with. So I'm okay with him not playing in the preseason.
Well, I disagree for several reasons, which I will be glad to articulate for you. For
I'm sure
one,
you will.
they still don't know what they have. At least they act like they still don't know what they have with him. And you know what? Ask anyone who knows, and they'll tell you that you can have as many snaps in practice, even snaps against other team in practice, but it's still not game time. There's something fundamentally different when it's an actual game, even if it's an NFL crappy preseason game.
Didn't they have 4 games of him last year? So my point being, it's not like he has no NFL experience and he never took a snap in the preseason. Okay, this is a guy that started multiple games, held his own. I'm not saying he was great, though he did look pretty good in a couple of the games if my memory serves me. But I wouldn't. I'm sorry. The injuries are happening too often, and you can't replace the players getting hurt. I mean, as a Steeler fan, every time Najee Harris got the ball, I held my breath. I didn't want him. I didn't want him taking a single snap. I didn't want it. I wanted to see Dwayne Haskins. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to see Mason Rudolph, but I didn't want to see any of the starters play.
Well, I disagree, and the fact is, if you practice a lot, you still run a real risk of significant non-contact season. There's as much of a risk of injury as if it was a preseason game. The fact is, pro football is a game where players get hurt. It's a fact of life, and in order to develop the timing that players need, you cannot simply do that in practice.
He developed the
It
timing
takes
last
more.
year. He developed the timing last year.
When did he throw a ball to Devonta Smith last year?
I hear you.
Devonta Smith was their first-round pick. When did he throw a ball to Jalen Reagor? Answer: he did not, because Reagor couldn't stay healthy.
Again, I know what you're saying, but I would rather have my players healthy than playing games that don't matter. You've got Atlanta the opening week. You've got San Francisco the second week. He can learn those 2 weeks. Okay, they're not good teams. Not that the Eagles are a good team either, mind you, but they're not good teams. Okay, you want to
Okay,
keep your guy healthy.
What you're saying is, in a 17-game season, they can afford to waste more than 10% of the games on a quarterback's learning curve. That makes great sense.
Well, you're not looking at it from the proper perspective. If
Of
Hurts
course I
goes,
am.
if Hurts goes down, okay, if Hurts goes down, and this could be preseason or week 9, okay, who's your quarterback?
Joe Flacco.
Season's over, okay. I'd rather roll the dice with a kid that played 4 games and looked like at least an NFL player last year than take a chance of him getting hurt and going with a guy that's so washed up. Okay, he shouldn't be carrying a clipboard in the major league, in the major NFL, I should say. Okay, he should not even be the clipboard guy. He shouldn't be the Don Strock. Okay, he shouldn't be the Vince Evans. He shouldn't be the Charlie Batch. Okay,
Can he be the Todd Collins?
He probably is Todd Collins. But seriously, he doesn't even deserve to be in an NFL uniform. With all the decent quarterbacks out there, how the Eagles ended up with a backup of Joe Flacco is just... my mind is so boggled right now, you have no idea. The level of boggled my mind is. See this mind? Boggled. How... I mean, the Steelers got Dwayne Haskins. Now, he may be good. He may suck. But he has potential. The Bills got Mitchell Trubisky. He may suck. But he's got potential. He was a first-round pick. Maybe he'll turn into something. Maybe he won't. But you know, Flacco is nothing. Flacco is done. He is toast. He is burnt. He is end. Done. Zippo. I mean, seriously. I'd take Taysom Hill over him.
Well, that says a lot about your opinion of Joe Flacco.
Yes, to say the least. Flacco's washed up.
So, what do you think of the Eagles' new coach, Nick Sirianni?
I haven't really thought about it much. As a non-Eagle fan, I haven't thought about it much. Let me tell you something. I haven't heard how I evaluate non-Steelers is, do I hear a lot from them? Do I hear a lot of things I shouldn't be hearing from them? And etc. And I haven't heard much about Sirianni. I haven't heard anything good. I haven't heard anything bad. To me, it seems like he's just doing his job. You, on the other hand, are paying closer attention. So you tell me what you're thinking about him.
Well, obviously, until Sirianni coaches an actual regular season game, it's premature to judge him. But to the extent you can judge based on a preseason and an off-season, early returns are not good.
Because?
Well, he's looked weak and stupid, and I'll explain why in a moment. He's looked unprepared, and perhaps the worst thing an NFL coach can be is unprepared.
Very true.
I mean, there are a lot of people out there who know X's and O's, but one big difference, one thing that pushes people over the top is being prepared.
Without a doubt. That's how Andy Reid got the job as the Eagle head coach. You remember that?
I remember. Mike Holmgren threw away some binders. Andy Reid took them, put them together for himself, went in there and wowed the hell out of Jeff Lurie.
He went from quarterbacks coach. I mean, that was a huge jump. And, I'm not a big Andy Reid fan, as everybody knows, but that dude went in there and he aced that interview like nobody has ever aced an interview before. There was no way he should have gotten that job. He had to have just made their head spin around 10, 20, 30 times to gotten that job. So preparation, I'm with you 100%. How we'll really tell? If he uses all his timeouts by the end of the first quarter, then we'll know just how good or bad he is.
Well, that's just a veiled shot at old Andy.
Not really veiled, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, but let me tell you, obviously, a coach's press conferences are not even a top 5 way to measure them, except that he's gone into press conferences so unprepared that it makes you wonder how prepared he's going to be at game time.
Now, you see, this is a whole nother situation now that we'll know better once the season begins. Not being in Philly anymore, I don't see the things that you see. And not being an Eagles fan, I don't investigate them either. I've been reading up on the Steelers, of course. I haven't paid attention to the Eagles. But, this is certainly not positive what you're saying. And so this could be interesting. But, Mike, let me ask you this question. First of all, any other specific topics? Because there's one thing.
Yes. At least two other topics.
Okay, go for it. Because there's one thing I want to address when we're done.
I'm sure you're going to pass on one of them, but I'll bring it up anyway.
Okay.
One thing Nick Sirianni has trumpeted is competition, and one big bit of competition that he's trumpeted is for starting left tackle. Now, I think we all know that starting left tackle, when you have a right-handed quarterback, is a pretty important position.
I would have to say yes.
So their options are former seventh-rounder and rugby player Jordan Mailata, who came in last season and acquitted himself very well, or former first-round pick of Howie Roseman, Andre Dillard, who has looked bad at left tackle both in practice and in preseason games and in limited regular season action in the past. And Howie has said, as recently as yesterday, yes, they're still in competition. Nothing's been decided. And obviously, I don't see what goes on at practice, but based upon what I've heard from media people who are at practice, Dillard has been repeatedly manhandled by second-string defensive linemen for the Jets, which doesn't sound very promising.
No, it does not. The one thing you should feel good about is even if they put the overmatched guy in there in the first week of the season, if he plays that poorly, there's no way he stays in there. I don't care if they have an undrafted guy who worked at Denny's last year. He'd go in there if the guy was that bad.
Well, they do have someone who actually played well with the other offensive linemen who are going to be lining up. So not only did he play well individually, but as a unit, chemistry-wise, with the other players that are rolling out there, he played well.
Okay.
So frankly, Nick Sirianni sounds either dishonest or just plain foolish for going out there and saying, oh, yeah, Andre's still in the running. And some people might say that it's so that you don't kill his trade value. But the fact is, the Eagles are not going to get what they regard as value for their first-round pick of 2 years ago.
Well,
and the fact is, you do need depth at offensive line. You need depth anywhere you can find it.
Without a doubt. But you have to think. Hang on, one thing real quick. Just because he sucks today, he was a first-round pick. He has pedigree. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to be a success. He could be a total washout, okay? But I'm not ready to get rid of a former first-round pick. And what you said, is this his second year or is his third year?
This is his third year.
This is the beginning of his third year. Granted, we're getting to the point of, shit or get off the pot. Don't get me wrong. But I'm okay with my first-round pick still being depth if he's not doing well instead of cutting him.
Oh, I'm okay with it too. But the fact is, you want to run your offensive linemen out there as much as possible, even if it's just practice, so that they can all develop chemistry together. You don't want, and it doesn't do their eventual starter any good to lose roughly half the practice snaps to the backup, especially when it's obvious to anyone who knows football that the eventual starter should be Jordan Mailata.
Well, time is going to tell, but they may go with the first-round pick. And the only good news is if he fails, it's got to be a short leash because they can't afford Joe Flacco being the starting quarterback because the quarterback got hurt because they had a poor left tackle.
You're right.
Mike, we got time for a quick one more because I got one thing we got to go over. What's your last topic?
Well, Dick Vermeil has been named a finalist for the NFL Hall of Fame. Should he or should he not actually be voted in?
I don't understand qualifications for the NFL Hall of Fame. Jimmy Johnson, Yes, he won 2 Super Bowls, but he was a head coach for, what, 6, 7, 8 years? And he did nothing. He lost a game like 61-0 or something like that in the playoffs or some crazy
Well, that
number.
was 63-7
Whatever.
to Jacksonville. Okay, well then let me give you a very, very quick rundown of Vermeil's credentials. Regular season career record 120 and 109. There may have been a tie in there that I'm forgetting. Playoff record 6-5, of which I think 3-3 was with the Eagles, 3-0 the Super Bowl season with the Rams, and then 0-2 in 2 of his 5 seasons with the Chiefs. He built up the late 70s Eagles from crap.
Yep, I remember that.
One could say that he built up the late 90s Rams from crap, although frankly I think he lucked into it by having Trent Green go down and plugging in Kurt Warner.
Yes, he did. Yes,
he got the Chiefs into the playoffs a couple of times too.
I would say my non-qualified opinion, because again, if this was baseball, I'd have a much better opinion on it. My non-qualified opinion is I would say yes, but I don't really know exactly what it takes for a head coach to get into the Hall of Fame, because Jimmy Johnson got in there because of hype. I mean, really, 2 Super Bowl wins, which is great, don't get me wrong, but are we putting every head coach in that wins 2 Super Bowls, or only one that does it with the Dallas Cowboys? So because of that, I'm going to vote yes for Dick Vermeil.
I will as well.
Why not?
Based largely on the strength of his building up the mid-70s Eagles from complete crap into a perennial playoff team and a Super Bowl visitor. Okay. Now, there's one more thing you wanted to cover. Hit me with it.
Well, actually, Mike, we're going to hold that off for another time. We've run out of time, so you're going to have to wait. So I'm going to leave you with the fact that we're only a couple weeks away from opening day. I am looking forward to that, very much so. And you'll hear some predictions before opening day. So
I look forward to it.
So for the moment, I'm SwamiLee.
I am still very mad, Mike.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night.